Hello and Happy New Year. Thank you for participating in the FY 2020 Department of Education's Fulbright-Hays Group Projects Abroad Long-Term Technical Assistance webinar. My name is Cory, Neal. I'm the GPA Program Manager. Please note that this year we will be conducting two separate workshops for GPA short-term projects and GPA long-term projects. Again, this workshop will be focused on the long-term projects. Both of these webinars have been pre-recorded and can be accessed through the Department of Education's GPA website and IFLE's YouTube channel. The agenda for today's workshop is as follows. We will review the purpose of the long-term program. We will review the competition highlights as referenced in the NIA. We will discuss the eligibility requirements for both applicants and participants. We will discuss each of the project phases for long-term projects. We'll go over the allowable cost under the GPA long-term program, and we will review the selection criteria and the process for selecting awardees. And lastly, we will provide some helpful tips for developing a competitive and hopefully successful application. Okay, the Fulbright-Hays GPA program is designed to contribute to the development and improvement of the study of modern foreign languages and area studies in the U.S. by providing training opportunities for faculty, teachers, and upperclassmen and/or graduate students in foreign language countries where the U.S. has diplomatic representation. Long-term advanced overseas intensive language training projects are designed to take advantage of the opportunities present in the foreign country that are not present in the United States when providing intensive advanced foreign language training. Okay, I get this question all the time about area studies and what is area studies. We define area studies as the study of the aspects of a society or societies, including the study of their geography, history, culture, economy, politics, international relations, or languages. The estimated range of awards for the long-term GPA program are between 50,000 and 250,000, with an average size of an award being approximately 185,000. We expect to make approximately 25 total awards, 15 of which we're hoping will be long-term projects. But the department is not bound by any estimates in this notice. For 2020, the absolute priority for our competition is that a group project focuses on one or more of the following geographic regions of the world: Africa, East Asia, South Asia, Southeast Asia and the Pacific, the Western Hemisphere, Eastern and Central Europe and Eurasia, and the Near East. Please note that GPA long-term projects that focus on Western Europe will not be reviewed. These countries include Andorra, Austria, Belgium, Denmark, Finland, France, Germany, Greece, Iceland, Ireland, Italy, Liechtenstein, Luxembourg, Malta, Monaco, Netherlands, Norway, Portugal, San Marino, Spain, Sweden, Switzerland, and the United Kingdom. GPA long-term applicants can earn additional points if they address the following competitive preference priorities. First, GPA long-term applicants can earn 2 additional points if they are from a minority-serving institution. And secondly, GPA long-term applications can earn 2 additional points if they propose projects that provide training and thematic focus on any modern foreign language except French, German, and Spanish, and obviously English. Okay, let's talk about applicant and participant eligibility requirements. Okay, eligible applicants for FY 2020 are institutions of higher education, state departments of education, private nonprofit educational organizations, and a consortia of institutions, departments, and organizations. An individual is eligible to participate in a GPA long-term project if he or she is a citizen, national, or permanent resident of the United States, meaning they have a green card, and they have successfully completed at least 2 years academic training and the language to be studied. This is a requirement, not an option. If a participant is a native speaker of the language of that your project intends to study, that participant must still have the 2 years of academic training in this language. Native speakers are not excluded from this requirement. Participants should be studying in the fields of humanities, social sciences, foreign languages, and/or area studies. Generally, the group may include graduate students or juniors or seniors in higher education institutions who are prospective teachers in the areas previously mentioned, and graduate students or juniors and seniors in higher education institutions who plan to apply their language skills and knowledge of countries vital to the United States national security in fields outside teaching. This can include government, the professions, or international development. Okay, let's look into the features of a GPA long-term project. Okay, a GPA long-term project must study a language indigenous to the country that you plan to study in, and it must be designed for maximum use of local institutions and personnel. Language training must be given at the advanced level, that is, equivalent to that provided to students who have successfully completed at least 2 academic years of language training. GPA long-term grantees must have had the appropriate language, they must have the appropriate language instructor administer pre- and post-test language evaluations to all participants. So grantees must give pre- and post-language evaluations to all participants. All right, for long-term advanced intensive language projects, the minimum time spent in the host country is 8 weeks. This does not include the pre-departure orientation, which is in the United States. Your grant performance period is 24 months. The minimum amount of participants is typically 12 participants and 1 project director for a minimum total of 13. The maximum grant award for both seminars and curriculum development is $250,000. This information can be found on page 18 of the application handbook. We highly encourage each applicant to check the State Department's website for alerts and warnings, as GPA applicants proposing to travel to a country that is closed to Fulbrighters will be disqualified. The countries on this slide are the current countries that are closed to GPA Fulbrighters. If you are unsure of a specific country, please feel free to email me at gpa@ed.gov. As a reminder, we have received several inquiries about Cuba and Egypt as possible destinations for a GPA project we do every year. These countries are currently closed to all GPA Fulbrighters. The grant performance period for long-term projects is 24 months. Your proposed start and end dates should be June 15th, 2020 to June 15th, 2022. If awards are made later than these proposed dates, 24 months from receipt of the award is your project performance period, okay? All right, we're going to talk about the project phases. These phases include your pre-departure, your in-country, and your follow-up phases. For the pre-departure phase, grantees should allot at minimum 16 hours towards pre-departure orientation. Your pre-departure orientation should consist of lectures on the country of studies. You should also send advanced reading materials to the participants several weeks prior to the pre-departure orientation. And we suggest that, that applicants include guidelines on conduct, discussions on daily living, traveling within the host country, cultural differences in the host country, team building exercises, team assignments and individual proposed projects, cross-cultural training, and language assessments. This slide contains an example of a pre-departure orientation schedule. Please make sure that your pre-departure orientation is detailed. You may include a copy, and you should include a copy of your pre-departure orientation in the appendices of your application package. This is only a sample on the screen here. Your pre-departure orientation schedule will depend on the intensity of your language, of your language program or any partners you may include, or guest speakers, etc. If you would like another example of a pre-departure orientation for reference, you may email me as well. I'd be happy to provide you with one. Okay, next is your overseas phase. This is where you should provide detailed information in your in-country itinerary. These details include your daily language class itineraries with detailed contact hours, which must be at least 120 hours in-country contact hours per student. 120 contact hours per student at minimum. Details about academic lectures, any field trips or cultural activities you may participate in, debriefings and evaluations, travel arrangements and accommodations. Okay, remember, the more information you provide in this project narrative, the more likely you are to receive a respectable score. Another tidbit I will add here is that a lot of times project directors will jam-pack every single day while overseas, you know, to get the most bang for your buck, so to speak, right? A thing that we hear a lot is that participants sometimes don't have any time to kind of reflect and kind of digest what they've learned or seen or practiced in any particular day. Something that you might want to look at, and that the reviewers sometimes will look at as well, is having some sort of self-reflection or reflection of the day's events. This is good to build into your host country itinerary as well. So maybe an hour or two at night for study or for journaling, or you know, just a little bit of time there to kind of digest everything that a participant has experienced before they begin their next day. Okay, for the follow-up phase, applicants should include an end of project evaluation that each participant is to complete. These project evaluations assess the quality of the overseas project. Department of Education reviews each evaluation submitted by the participants to ascertain the success of the project and to provide suggestions for improvement should the grantee submit a subsequent application for funding. Follow-up phase also should include the language proficiency post-test results, as well as all other required reports that we will touch on a little bit later in the webinar. The follow-up phase can include information on staff development, workshops and conferences, for example, dissemination and outreach plans, publicizing and recruiting future participants, and future outreach activities. Okay, we're going to talk about your selection criteria. This is used to score your application. There are 8 total criteria that the reviewers will be looking at. Applicants can receive a total of 100 points for addressing all of the criteria. And you may receive or can receive up to 4 additional points by addressing the competitive preference priorities specific to long-term projects that we spoke about earlier. Okay, first criteria is plan of operation. This is worth 20 points. Applicants should introduce the reader to their institution or organization by providing statistics and other demographic information relevant to the project. The need for the project, the selection of the country of study, the objectives of the project, these should all be discussed. Your project design should be addressed. This includes the 3 project phases we just discussed. Applicants should note how each phase of the project is to be carried out and supported under the plan of operation. Continuing on with plan of operation, applicants should also address how the management plan will link all of the project phases and how it will efficiently operate under the project parties. Applicants should describe in which ways resources and personnel will be used in achieving the objectives of the project and include details of which key personnel will be responsible for vital project components and activities, and describe the how, why, when, and where these project activities will take place. Please include a clear description of how the project will provide equal access and equipment for project participants, regardless of race, color, national origin, gender, age, or disability. Many applicants neglect to include this description, which does result in a point deduction. Okay, next is quality of key personnel. This is worth 10 points. Applicants should address the qualifications of the U.S. project director, which includes their academic training, their field of expertise in the host country, the administrative experience, any languages, and other related qualifications they may have. It's also very, very important to note the project director's time commitment to the project. Please provide expertise of any other support staff as well and their time commitment to the project. Applicants should also provide host country key personnel qualifications. These can include any administrative staff, language teachers, assessors, or evaluators. Be sure to include their titles, their responsibilities, and their time commitment to the project. Applicants should also show, as part of the institution's non-discriminatory employment practices, how employment from underrepresented groups will be without regard to race, color, national origin, gender, age, or disability. In the appendices section, the applicant should upload abbreviated CVs, which should be no more than 3 pages for key personnel, no more than 3 pages for key personnel. Okay, budget and cost effectiveness. This is worth 10 points. Applicants should demonstrate and justify that all allowable expenses presented are adequate and reasonable in today's market, and that they are necessary to accomplish the project's goals. Applicants should discuss their project's cost effectiveness and show the relationship between the project's cost and the project's objectives. GPA programs do not require matching funds, but we do highly recommend using matching funds. In the budget narrative attachment, applicants should upload a detailed itemized line budget and accompanying budget narrative that clearly outlines how the costs have been calculated and are necessary to the project's objectives. Remember, long-term projects have a 24-month project period, so your budget should reflect those 24 months. Okay, when developing your budget, please keep in mind that funding can be used for the following: lodging and meals, international travel, and as a reminder, all flights to and from the U.S. must be Fly America Act compliant, travel within the host country, educational materials purchased in the host country, meeting space within the host country, local administrative fees and services, and host country evaluators. The grant does not provide funds for project-related expenses within the United States. This can include U.S.-based salaries, the pre-departure orientation, if it is held in the U.S., and any U.S.-based follow-up activities. These items may be included as part of the applicant matching contribution. The GPA grant may pay for costs associated with the pre- and post-foreign language assessments, which are required for long-term, if the assessments are conducted within the host country. There's a theme here: host country, host country, host country. All GPA funding must be spent in the host country, and we do not cover any domestic costs. Okay, this slide and the next contain an example of a budget sheet. We highly recommend that applicants organize their budgets into 3 categories, like you see here, to indicate each funding stream, which can include federal funds from us, institutional funds, and participant cost share. So you see at the top right, this example lists the GPA program, the college or university, and the participant cost share, and is very clear as to what or who is covering what. Okay, continuing on to the second page of it. It's very clear, it's very concise. This style, this template here is highly recommended. You do not have to do it this way, as long as we can tell exactly who is covering what. You don't have to lay it out in this exact way, but we do recommend something very similar, if not pretty much spot on. Okay. All right. Evaluation plan. This is worth 20 points. A well-designed evaluation plan includes clearly articulated goals, measurable objectives, both quantitative and qualitative, a way to collect data to show progress, formal evaluations at each phase of the project, informal evaluations, like a midpoint debriefing or daily journal or so. To add credibility to the evaluation plan, we highly encourage using an external evaluator that is independent of the project, so someone outside of your academic department or even someone completely external to your institution. Evaluation instruments that will be used to collect data during all project phases should also be included in your appendices. And a timetable should be included to highlight when key components of the evaluation plan will occur. Here's an example of a performance measure form, or PMF, which is included in your application. Applicants will be required to develop the proposed goals and the project's specific performance measures and activities on the PMF. In this example, the project's goal is to improve foreign language proficiency of U.S. educators. You should clearly demonstrate achievement of this goal through activities, data indicators, frequency, and data sources. GPA performance measures should be linked to the overall performance measure of the program, which include GPA Measure 1, the percentage of GPA participants in the advanced language program who increased their reading, writing, and or listening, speaking foreign language scores by 1 proficiency level. The efficiency of the GPA Long-Term program will be measured by considering the cost per GPA participant who increased their foreign language score in reading, writing, and or listening, speaking by at least 1 proficiency level. Okay, the adequacy of resources is worth 5 points. Here you want to ask yourself, what resources will I use to accomplish the project goals I have outlined in my project, both in the U.S. and abroad? You should include specifics regarding the use of facilities, supplies, and other resources to show that they are adequate to carry out all the activities in the phases of the projects, in all phases. In the appendices section, applicants should upload letters of support from both U.S. and support country institutions and individuals. Potential impact is worth 15 points. So what would be the potential impact of the project on the development and improvement of the study of modern foreign language and area studies in U.S. education? You want to kind of answer that question. Describe the possible long-term benefits to project participants, their students, if relevant, colleagues, and communities resulting from successful completion of the grant. What specific multiplier effects will this project have? And you want to indicate the process by which resulting curricula or projects or research will be evaluated for accuracy and effectiveness. Okay, relevance to institutional development is worth 10 points. Applicants should discuss the missions, goals, and objectives of the applicant institution, as well as what it would mean to have a GPA grant. Describe the relationship between the project and the institution's program development in modern foreign language and area studies. Outline what changes will take place due to a GPA project. And your last criteria here is need for overseas experience. This is worth 10 points. Applicants should discuss how their project will bring about a better understanding of the host country. You want to address the question, why am I taking this particular group to this particular place? And lastly, you want to describe the relationship to the project and the institution's program development in modern foreign language and area studies. The grants.gov appendices provide applicants with an other attachments section that can include your pre-departure orientation agenda, your overseas project itinerary, your follow-up activities, CVs of your key personnel, again, 3 pages minimum per CV, any letters of support, and your examples of evaluation materials, timeline charts, PMF forms with your proposed measures and activities. All right, this time let's talk about application tips, putting together a successful application package. Okay, as you're getting organized, we encourage you to review abstracts of funded grantees and past successful proposals. You can find these on the GPA website. You can also reach out to me. I can provide you with other examples, including pre-departure orientation examples, agenda examples, host country agenda examples, budget examples, former successful abstracts, things of that nature. We encourage applicants to develop internally or develop internal and external links that will assist you in putting together a solid application. For example, you may wish to meet with relevant staff from Grants and Contracts Office or coordinate with your colleagues on campus that may have international education or grant experience. If you have secured an external evaluator, again, that sends a strong signal to peer reviewers that you're serious about your evaluation. Okay. We strongly encourage applicants to review the FAQs on our website. They are, it's all updated, and it's a great resource. We advise you to designate a management team with international and grants experience, kind of identify your institution or department's needs and wants, and don't forget to request letters of support both from the U.S. and abroad. We highly recommend that you review the Federal Register Notice and the GPA program website for all updated information. And these are all great. This webinar and the FAQ are fantastic as far as providing you with the most information in one location. Okay, but your best resource is just to contact me. For any reason, if you have any questions at all, I can help you as much as I can. And you can contact me at gpa@ed.gov. I'm happy to assist with any questions at all. That email will display in just a minute in case you missed it. Okay. Writing your proposal. When you're writing your proposal, make sure you address all selection criteria in the order listed in the application package. Okay, so first off, address all criteria and address all criteria in order that it is listed. It's very important. Applicants should not make peer reviewers search for the information. Generating a table of contents is very helpful in developing an organized application. Also, providing a detailed plan of operation and evaluation, and including sufficient details so that someone who is unfamiliar with your project could conduct it, if need be. Write clear, measurable goals, objectives, and outcomes. Provide a specific and detailed budget. And please avoid grammatical errors. And also avoid specific professional jargon and acronyms. Lastly, use persuasive descriptions on how your project operates. Okay, I can't stress enough how important it is to be clear, concise, and detailed. Organized applications are looked highly upon. Okay, when submitting your application, make sure that you register early on grants.gov to avoid any system issues. Save your written proposal to avoid any computer issues. If your institution is not funded, consult the reviewer comments and reapply. And please do not wait till the last minute to submit your application. There's nothing we can do if you submit after the deadline. That application will not be reviewed. The deadline this year for submitting your application is February 18th, 2020 at 12 midnight Eastern Standard Time. This is a little different than in the past. In the past, it's been 4:30 p.m. Eastern Standard. This year, it is 12 midnight Eastern Standard on February 18th. Okay. All applicants will be notified of the results via email no later than September 30th, 2020. Obviously, we are hoping to make our awards much earlier than that. That's why we're having our competition a little early this year, but the absolute latest that you would hear from us would be September 30th, 2020. You will be notified whether your application was successful or not. Scores and comments will be sent to all applicants via email. And for those of you who are successful this year, be prepared to hit the ground running, get the ball rolling as soon as you get your letter that you've been granted. Want to kind of honestly shoot for traveling this summer. As long as we can make our awards in time, that's the goal. Okay, so be ready. These websites will be very helpful to you as you work on your applications. You can find sample abstracts from past successful projects, sample narratives, submission instructions, et cetera, et cetera. And if you haven't already subscribed to our quarterly newsletter, I highly recommend it. Again, you can contact me for some of those same things, and here is my contact information, as well as the GPA program website. Don't hesitate to reach out to me. I am more than happy to answer any questions, no matter how big, no matter how small. And on one last note, institutions, this began last year, and we are continuing it this year. Institutions are able to apply for more than one GPA grant. You can submit for multiple short-term projects, multiple long-term projects, or a combination of both. If you choose to submit a short-term application, please be sure to watch the short-term technical assistance webinar, as short-term applications have different requirements than long-term applications. You can find the short-term webinar at the International Foreign Language Education Office YouTube channel. And lastly, thanks for taking the time to listen to the long-term technical assistance webinar. I'm really hoping that it will help you in putting together a competitive application. I wish you the best of luck, and I look forward to your application.